Vanderbilt just tried to pull off something amazing this week that seemingly flew under the radar with the early national signing period and all the coaching changes that are currently going on. While some schools are going around trying to make their case with every journalist they can of why they deserve to make the college football playoffs over others and threaten to get rid of big non-conference games, Lea and Vanderbilt instead did something that should fire up every other fan in the sport. They said, "We will play anybody anywhere and prove we belong in the playoff." Hopefully, this sparks a positive change for the sport going forward, rather than just try to shut down the opportunity for half the FBS. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who you think is getting screwed by the committee in the comment section below. Lea and Vanderbilt football just did something awesome, and I think it proves they probably should be in the playoffs. Rather than try to pander to the media members and beg to get into the playoffs like Texas is doing at 9-3, like the Longhorns, but the reason you aren't in the playoff conversation is not because you lost to Ohio State week 1, it's because you were blown out by Georgia, lost to a terrible Florida team that had lost to USF, and went to overtime against both Kentucky and Mississippi State, two teams that didn't even make bowl games. No, Vanderbilt said and truly meant, "We will play anyone anywhere this week to prove we belong," and add that 13th data point. Yesterday during his National Signing Day press conference, Lea said this.
I share frustration. I share with the group, and to be honest, the last time we were together as a team was yesterday morning, so it was before. Now we talked about the fact that the ranking was going to come out, and and I said, my feeling is that it may not move very much, just because I can't seem to figure out what goes on in that room, and if I can't understand it, I can't predict it. But my challenge to them is and was to know that we will continue to fight. I told them to have their bags packed. If a team calls up and wants us to take a flight to go play them on Saturday, we're going to go play them on Saturday. That's still true. If I have 2 days to prepare a team, we'll get a plane, we'll get there Friday night, we'll play on Saturday, and I'm happy to do it. And the team is happy to do it as well. And then I said, if it's not to be, if we're not allowed in, then our job is to go and perform to our highest of ability in whatever game we're put in. And these guys will do that because they care so much about this program. And those things are out of our control now.
According to Pete Thamel, that was not just some talking point used by Lea to get people talking and get things going. It was the reality of how things really were. Thamel tweeted out, "Number 14 Vanderbilt explored the possibility of playing an exempt 13th game this weekend as a way to give one final showcase for the college football playoff. There was interest from the team, university officials, and the athletic department and coaching staff. Ultimately, the operation and legislative requirements, along with last-minute scheduling constraints, could not support the game. This is something that fans have fantasized about. I don't know if that's the right word. It is something fans have wanted to see and theorized about happening, and with a big talking point this year being about television numbers, and that is why certain teams should not be in, or should be in, I think games like this would do wonders. If you should do something where if you aren't playing in the conference title game, you are ranked anywhere from like 8 to 20 or 22 or whatever number you want to pick out, you have an extra game, and we use that as a representative point for the teams. You could include anybody, even including group of 5 teams. Once we get into conference play, besides some rivalry games, we rarely get teams playing different conference-affiliated teams. This sport is so large, making everything hypothetical, and as we all know, the SEC is undefeated in hypothetical situations. I don't want to watch coaches go to media members and cry about their schedule and how a 9-3 or 10-2 team deserves to be in the playoffs. No, I want you to lace up your bootstraps and figure it out on the field. The Big 12 is viewed as a conference that is not as strong as the SEC and Big 10 this year. As a result, an 11-1 BYU team and a 10-2 Utah team are going to miss the playoffs and are being ranked lower than they should be because the Big 12 is considered a weaker conference. Because of an inherent bias, that means we don't know whether it's true or not, then the rest of their wins in the Big 12 are viewed as not as good as others. Imagine we could get Oregon versus Georgia Tech, Ole Miss versus Houston, Michigan versus Texas A&M, Oklahoma versus Arizona, Notre Dame versus Utah, Miami versus Vandy, Texas versus USC. The way I came up with these matchups were via the college football playoff rankings to match these teams up, and then set it up so you had no repeating games from the regular season, and split it at teams that were 9-3 or better in the rankings. You could also play around with this and move the rankings around to get games like Houston versus Texas A&M and Michigan versus Notre Dame reviving that rivalry if TV numbers really matter to you, and that's your argument point. You could then use those extra games as a 13th data point with the setup. You think Utah is not as good as Miami? Well, they just beat Notre Dame on the road, something only Texas A&M was able to do this season. Miami's struggling down the stretch? Well, they beat Vandy, so that may not be true. The ACC is just more balanced this year. You then don't need to expand the college football playoffs in this hypothetical situation, and it really pushes teams to make their conference title game and make the conference title game even more special with the automatic bid. I think college football fans and decision makers overreacted last year when Boise State got the automatic bye as a non-power conference team. I personally don't believe you should have gotten rid of that because it gave teams that won their conference title a gift. This year, I was talking to some Georgia fans and Texas A&M fans that I'm friends with, and neither of them wanted their team to make the SEC title game because they viewed playing the game as a disadvantage, and it was viewed as an advantage getting the extra bye week by not playing in the game. The automatic bid and the automatic bye incentivizes winning the conference besides pride, and it made those games all that more important. There's a chance Ohio State and Indiana both end up with byes no matter the result of the game on Saturday, meaning they are just playing for pride. That's great and all, but still sucks. Look at the SEC title game. If the auto bid was still a thing, Alabama could be playing for a bye. With the way this committee has been, if they lose, then there's a chance they get eliminated from the playoffs because this group has been so inconsistent and has no idea how to explain their decision making. If Bama loses and gets left out, it may be the end of the conference title game. That would be an absolute mess with these large conferences. Also, the people saying get rid of the group of 5 auto bid because it's a participation trophy because they would rather see 9-3 Texas or 10-2 Miami or 10-2 Vanderbilt, that's a bad take. By giving that spot to one of those 3 teams I just mentioned, that would be the true participation trophy. Hey, we know you weren't good enough to make your conference title game, but because you tried super duper hard, here's a playoff spot because we think, keyword think, you're better than North Texas, James Madison, or Tulane. If Duke wins the ACC title on Saturday, Tulane would have beaten the ACC champion, and one of their losses was to number 6 Ole Miss on the road. Memphis beat Arkansas, and Arkansas gave A&M a game, only losing 45-42. USF beat Florida, who beat Texas. The winner of the American Conference is not getting a participation trophy if they get in because of the auto bid. They earn their spot by winning their conference. James Madison's one loss this season is to Louisville on the road, the team that beat Miami, a game they lost by 14 because of garbage points. I could keep going, but you get my point. Award teams that earn their way by winning their conference if you truly want to value the regular season. Don't live in hypothetical situations because there's no proof in the pudding. Instead of being realistic and letting the playoffs play itself out, they're probably going to expand it again because Texas and some other SEC schools cried about being left out after losing multiple games in the season. Mind you, Texas chose to go to the SEC along with Oklahoma, and is the reason conferences are so massive these days. We should move away from the multi-million-dollar a year making coaches crying about being left out and instead do what Clark Lee was trying to do and do something about it. Now you may say the added game is expanding the playoffs, but I'm not saying you're guaranteed a college football playoff spot if you win the game. I'm just saying it's an added data point. And the issues are still there with the committee because of the human bias aspect. I view the first part as debatable, but doesn't disadvantage the teams playing in the conference championship game in this situation, while the latter is harder to solve with the way things are set up, because even a computer algorithm has some type of bias based off of who is inputting and weighing the data. The only real solution is making a full-blown auto bids. What do you think? How do you feel about Vanderbilt trying to play an extra game this weekend, and how would you fix the college football playoff? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.